Well, week 3 was full of upsets. But what's about to come in week 4? Because who knows? There might be a bunch that happened in week 4.
Let's talk football.
Alright! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast, where sports are everything on this channel. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we are going over my week 4 NFL predictions. Yeah, the first 2 weeks in total margin of week 1 and week 2, I have gone 19 and 13. This past week, I went 9 and 7. So that makes a total of 29 to 20. 29 I've gotten right and 20 that I have gotten wrong. But man, week 3 was full of surprises. But primarily the Vikings, because who would have expected them to do this good? And along with the Seahawks, they are the two alone undefeated teams of the NFC, which I'll talk into that later on in the video. But before we get started, if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to do me a favor and smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. But for now, let's get into the predictions. Starting us off, you've got an NFC East showdown on Thursday Night Football. You've got the Dallas Cowboys that choked the last 2 weeks going on the road to the Big Apple to take on the Giants.
All hail the New York Giants!
The Cowboys losing 2 straight home games, first to the New Orleans Saints, 44-19, and then almost beating the Ravens, but then they lost to the Ravens 28-25, which the Ravens were pretty much bullying them because they knew they would beat them. But anyways, they're going to be taken. But the Cowboys, they have just not looked good. Their offense hasn't been clicking, and their sideline issues have only just risen because Michael Parsons was talking hard to Dexter Lawrence. And the defense, their main weakness was exposed. The run defense is still not there. They're going to be taking on the Giants that really shocked everybody by beating the Browns, which I found kind of shocking. But the Giants, they did look relatively good. But then again, it's just the Cleveland Browns, which the Cowboys also beat. But this game is going to be relatively interesting. I faked out some of the Cowboy fans the last 2 weeks because I faked that I had the Cowboys pick for the Steelers and Ravens games to kind of bait them into my trap. But I'm going to be respectable this time. I'm not going to juke anyone out. I'm not going to juke anybody out. I'm going to go with the Cowboys on this one. For real this time, all right? I'm done faking it. For real. All right, maybe not, but at least this week. Because the Cowboys have had the Giants number through the last few years. And the fact is the Giants don't yet have their guy. I do hope the Giants do start Drew Lock at some point because Drew Lock, he only showed us that he could upset the Eagles as he did in Seattle last year, which I was surprised by as well. But Cowboys, I have getting the win. But then, following that, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals that have struggled this season going on the road to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The Bengals, man, have they not looked that good. They have started 0-3, which the last time they did that was 2019, the year before Joe Burrow arrived, which is not looking good for the Bengals. This whole situation with Ja'Marr Chase has just gone to a boiling point. But I have respect for the Bengals. If they don't improve this week, I'm going to lose it. If they don't beat the Panthers on this one, I'm really going to go off on them. They're going to be taking on the Carolina Panthers. That shocked the city of Las Vegas by defeating the Raiders.
What? What?
Not even I expected this. But Andy Dalton showed up. He unlocked the full potential of this offense. And Bryce Young, He's probably going to be a backup for the rest of his career because he primarily was the whole issue with that offense as far as we saw. But this game, I am going to go with the Bengals here, even though the Carolina Panthers did show up, because Joe Burrow is still their quarterback. But if they do lose this week, I'm going to lose my mind. If they do lose this week, I'm going to lose it on them, and I'm going to go off on them. But hopefully that doesn't happen, or else Joe Burrow, you're in for it. And then, following that, you've got the Los Angeles Rams going on the road to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Rams surprising everybody last week by defeating the 49ers, which, thank you, by the way, even though I had that pick wrong. But anyways, sorry, I had to mention it. But anyways, the Rams, they looked relatively good. I mean, without Puka, without Cooper Kupp, they showed up. Tutu Atwell stepped up. Tyron Williams stepped up. Many guys on their offense alone stepped up. And their defense stepped up too in the last little stretch, as I mentioned in my best and worst performances of last week. But, man, the Rams, hats off to them. And thank you, by the way, for defeating the 49ers for the Seahawks' league's sake. But they're going to be taking on the Bears. The Bears have struggled these first two games. They have struggled. And this one is ultimately going to be a really tough game. I do think that this game is going to be relatively ugly because the defense of the Bears is nothing to sneeze at. And then also, along with the offense of the Rams, I mean, Matthew Stafford still showed up without Kupp and Puka. But I am going to go with the Rams in this one because the Bears, they have just not been looking good at all. Caleb Williams has been looking like a bust lately, which Jaden Daniels right now is doing better than Caleb Williams is right now, which is kind of referring to last season when C.J. Stroud was doing better than Bryce Young. But we'll see what happens. But Caleb Williams, he's got to step up this game for real. And then following that, you've got an NFC North rivalry. And man, is this one going to be a dogfight. You've got the 3-0 Minnesota Vikings going on the road to Lumen to take on the Packers. The Packers, they ended up beating the Titans last week, and Malik Willis gets his revenge on the Tennessee Titans. But man, there's another revenge game coming, which I'll talk about in a second. Jordan Love could possibly be back this week, which is sooner than originally expected. But if not, they still got Malik Willis, so he's already 2-0 with the Packers. They're going to be taking on the Vikings, which will be Aaron Jones' return to Lumen Field. And man, the Packers are not welcoming him back very politely.
I have come home, Master. This is no longer your home, and I am no longer your master.
I'm just going to say that right now. But anyways, this game is going to be a good one because this rivalry alone has been a great game to watch for the last few years. Now, of course, last season these two teams did split on when they went on the road to their respective teams and beat them in their houses. But this year, I think they can win some home games because the Packers, their defense has been really good for the past few weeks. And Jair Alexander had that pick six against the Titans. And then also Xavier McKinney has shown up since he left the New York Giants. That guy is amazing. And the Vikings, they're nothing to sneeze at either because the Vikings, no one would have expected them to go 3-0, including myself. But this game is going to be a dogfight. But in this one, I am going to go with the Green Bay Packers because, number one, they're in the frozen tundra. And number two, they've done mainly good at home when they have played the Vikings. But this game could go either way. And I'll not be surprised if it went either way. But the Packers, I have getting the win. And then, following that, you've got another rivalry game, this time of the AFC South. You got the Jacksonville Jags going on the road to H-Town to take on the Texans. The Jags. Something's wrong with this team because I could see them right now being maybe 1-2-1. But this Jaguars team has been just terrible. They have not looked good. Their offense was just struggling left and right. But the Jags, they need to get their act together this week. They're going to be taking on the Texans that lost last week as well to the Minnesota Vikings, which no one expected at all, including myself. But anyways, this is going to be an interesting game because this has been a really good rivalry game for the past few years. The Jags have not been doing so well, but the Texans, I just think with the home crowd environment and just the way that the Jaguars have been looking, I am gonna go with the Texans on this one. Sorry, Cheddar, but I'm going against you here because the Texans right now have proven they are the better team of the NFC South. Correction, AFC South. They've proven that they are the better team of the AFC South and will be until the Jaguars improve. But for now, I'll go with the Texans to get the win over the Jags. Sorry, Cheddar. And then following that, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers going on the road to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The Steelers starting 3-0 and still in the lead of their division. But I did not expect this start from the Steelers at all. And I owe my sincere apology to their fan base because their team has been looking good. They haven't been looking great, but they've been looking good. Their defense has been the primary lead of the charge that they've had so far. Their offense has looked mediocre for somewhat, but they I think kind of escaped a little bit of the Chargers last week because of the 4 costly penalties that they did have on the Chargers defense. But the Steelers, they have just shown that no matter if their offense is mediocre, they still find a way to get over 500 due to Mike Tomlin. But they're going to be taking on the Colts that beat the Bears last week, which is not anything to get hyped about, but it's something. The Colts their offense has the offensive talent. Alec Pierce is a really good receiver, and Jonathan Taylor is a really good running back. But Anthony Richardson, he ultimately has to step it up this game. Because you're going to have a guy on the defensive side of the ball coming at you just continuously in TJ Watt. He's going to be coming at your face. He is going to be pressuring you to no end. Because if your O-lineman cannot stop TJ Watt, you're pretty much done in this game. But in this one, I'm going with the Steelers again. I have been doing good of predicting Steeler games this year as I'm 2-1 on my picks on the Steelers so far. So if they do win this game, you're welcome, Steelers. And if they lose, sorry. All right. And then following that, you got the Denver Donkeys, as I like to call them, going on the road to New York to take on the New York Fraudulent Jets. Now, I'm still calling them the Fraudulent Jets because they've only beaten 2 last-place teams as of recently. The Broncos, their defense showed up in the game against Tampa. They were just destroying Baker Mayfield and that offense. Man, and the Bucs, they just did not look good in that game at all against the Broncos defense. But they're going to be taking on the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be an ultimate test for the Broncos and also the Jets because this game is going to be interesting. It's going to be tight. And the Jets, I'm not sold on them being a Super Bowl contender, but I am sold on them being a playoff team. But I am going to go with the team known as the Jets because they just are better than the Broncos right now. I'm sorry. I have to do it to you Donkeys again, but it is true. Bo Nix is a rookie going on the road into a very dangerous environment in the stadium of MetLife and they are going against a really good defense this week. But this game could go either way, but I'm going with the Jets to get the win. And then following that, you've got a playoff rematch. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles going on the road to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. Once again in Tampa for the third time in the last three matchups. The Eagles barely escaping the Saints last week. And man, Saquon Barkley went off. But their defense overall did look better this game, but still a lot to be desired from this Philadelphia Eagles team. They're going to be taking on the Bucs, which the last time they met up with the Buccaneers, they just did not perform well at all. They got destroyed 32-6 in that game. And that was just a bad game, but I was undefeated that week of my picks, which was the first and only time it has happened so far on my channel. But this game is going to be interesting. Jalen Hurts, he needs to step it up this game and not be a turnover machine as he has been in some of the games as of recently. And they also need, and Baker Mayfield, he needs to step up this game because he was getting bullied by the Broncos defense, as I had already stated earlier. But in this one, I am going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles because of their defense. The defense has overall looked good, and just because of what we saw from the Buccaneers last week, I'm not so hopeful on this team right now. And just the Eagles, they are just right now the only lone team of the NFC East. Because the Cowboys, they're frauds every single year. And the Giants are barely a factor, although the Commanders are looking good as well. But they're nothing to sneeze at either. But in this case, I am going to go with the Eagles over the Bucs. And following that, speaking of the Commanders, you got the Washington Commanders going on the road to Arizona to take on the Cards. The Commanders, they showed up on Monday night.
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
It's Jayden Daniels. He is looking like that offensive rookie of the year right now. Jayden Daniels, he is amazing. And this guy, I said, it could be a CJ Stroud and Bryce Young situation again. And so far, it has been that. And this is going to be an interesting circumstance because at all, I did not have the Commanders being this good, as probably did many people. But I did say it might be what CJ Stroud was last year. But anyways, they're going to be taking on the Cards that were potentially robbed of a win in that 2-minute warning when they blew the play dead. They would have had a pick six if they won that game, if that play had been let go. But I'm not going to get too on them because it's the Cardinals. Nobody expects anything from them. But this game, just from what I've seen from these two teams, this could be a really good game. And going on the road into Phoenix, and you're going to be going against the Cards. They have been nothing to sneeze at. I have been on the full-on attention of the Marvin Harrison Jr. situation, but this will be the ultimate test for the Cardinals. If they can't beat the Commanders, they're not going to win. They're not going to even make a playoff appearance because the Cardinals are trash, and they'll always be the Cards. But anyways, I'm going with the Commanders over the Cards. And then following that, you've got the New England Patriots going on the road to San Fran to take on the Niners. The Patriots getting decimated last week to the New York Jets. They just did not look good in that game at all. Their offensive line allowed 7 sacks. And I really think they could get sacked 12 times here. Just from what I've seen from this defense of San Fran. They're going to be taking on the 49ers that are 1-2 and in last place of the division right now.
Who told you that was okay? I want names. I want faces. I want to know. Because it's okay.
And I'm not expecting it for long because I'm not sleeping on the Niners at all. I'm not sleeping on them because the Niners, they are still one of the top contenders in the NFC, but there is a little bit of concern because they were without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. I believe one of those guys will be returning this week. Hopefully, it is George Kittle because that offense, I mean, they looked good, but they couldn't finish it in the end. When Purdy had the ball on third down, he could not get the first down. But in this one, I'm going with the Niners on this one because the Niners, their defense is a lot better than the Patriots. But I think it could be a really, really close game. But if it isn't, the Niners are just going to destroy the Patriots. And I'm going with the Niners over the Patriots, but if the Patriots upset the 49ers, I'll take it. And then following that, you've got the first matchup between these two rivals with Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs going on the road, or is it really on the road, to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs barely escaped once again out of Atlanta as they got the win in Atlanta and probably got a really lucky call in their favor again in that pass interference that should have been called on Kyle Pitts. But I'm not going to get too far into that because the Chiefs are inevitable and they are ultimately the new Thanos. But they're going to be taking on the Chargers that have not been anything to sleep on this season because so far they are 2-1, which nobody expected from this Chargers team, and they're actually right up there with the Chiefs. Now they're not 3-0, but they still got a chance. But this game is going to be close because Mahomes has not been that good from what I have noticed. Every single game that the Chiefs have played in this year, it's been a one-score game. So their 3-0 record, don't be fooled by it because the Chiefs, they just don't look good and they're diminished right now. They are deflated right now with the loss of Isaiah Pacheco, of course, and Travis Kelce. Where has that brother been? Because he hasn't even made a touchdown pass this year. And he had Jerry Rice's number last year in the playoffs, and he's done nothing yet. So clearly, the whole thing going on with Taylor Swift is not going well for him. And the Kelce, I have not respected this dude at all. Mahomes I respect, but Kelce I don't. Kelce, you need to stop hanging out with Taylor Swift and get your game together because you haven't even caught a touchdown pass yet. And if you are really an all-out Hall of Famer, show up when you need to because you're spending too much time with Taylor Swift than you are catching that dang football. But in this case, I am going to go with the Chiefs on this one. But it would be a surprise. I would not be surprised if the Chargers came out with the win because the Chiefs, they are right now at their weakest point. And if there's a chance that the Chargers have to beat them this year, it's no. Because they don't have Isaiah Pacheco. And Travis Kelce has been looking washed for pretty much the entire beginning part of the season since he's been dating Taylor Swift for 2 years. Get your dang out together, Travis Kelce, because you're just not looking good. You ain't looking on your game. But anyways, I'm going with the Chiefs over the Chargers. And then following that, you've got the Cleveland Browns going on the road to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Both of these teams getting massively upset last week. The Browns, they got outplayed by the Giants.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
That is just a bad thing to have on your resume. But Deshaun Watson, he's not looking like that guy right now for Cleveland. But they're going to be taking on the Raiders. That got shocked by the Panthers, which Andy Dalton did was the quarterback that time and not Bryce Young. It's Bryce Young, he's washed. He's a worst number 1 overall pick I've seen in recent memory. But anyways, the Raiders, they did not look their greatest yesterday. They did not look their greatest last week. But in this game, I'm going with the Raiders on this one because the Browns, they just don't look good. They've had a curse lingering over their franchise for years. And the Browns, they just don't look good at all. And I'm not all on them until they actually have a quarterback because Deshaun Watson, he's not that guy. And then Sunday night, you've got the Buffalo Bills going on the road to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Bills going 3-0 without Gabe Davis and without Stephon Diggs, which Josh Allen did call out Stephon Diggs. Oh my gosh. I was like, what? How do you call out that man? Oh my gosh. That was the best. And I'm happy for Buffalo. I really am. Because I have my respect for Buffalo. And I'm happy they're doing well. Because everyone thought they were going into a rebuild. Well, do you think they're in a rebuild now? They're going to be taking on the Ravens. Which the Ravens finally got their first win of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. Which the Cowboys just could not stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. They were just getting bullied. The Jackson ultimately bullied them until the end of the game because he knew he could have gotten that first down, and he just wanted to make sure the Cowboys got back in it before breaking every single Cowboy fan's heart. I'm sorry. I have to take a shot at the Cowboys any chance I get. All right? It's in my nature. But anyways, the Bills, his team looks amazing, and I'm happy that they're looking this good. Josh Allen looked amazing on Monday night, throwing massively. He was looking amazing that game. They are going to really have a test against the Ravens. The Ravens defense has not been looking at its best since they actually let go of their defensive coordinator that is now in Seattle in Mike McDonald. But this will be a true test for the Ravens. I am going to go with the Bills on this one because the Bills, they have the better team. Their offense has been looking really good under the calling of Joe Brady. And this team, they are to be feared right now. Because the Bills, their run game has been the sole leading charge. They'll run it right down your throat. And this Bills team is dangerous than the other teams that we have seen in the past. But I'm going with the Bills over the Baltimore Ravens. But then you've got one of two Monday night games. You've got the Tennessee Titans going on the road to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Wait a minute. I've heard this game before. Last year, these two teams met up, and they were close. The Dolphins had a lead with 3 minutes to go, a 14-point lead. You wouldn't think they would lose it, but they did.
Oh, they think they can surprise me, huh? Two can play at that game.
But the Titans, they have not been looking good at all this year. They have just looked atrocious. And they were just getting destroyed by the Packers last week. They're going to be taking on the Miami Dolphins that got a butt whooping themselves against my Seattle Seahawks, which I'll talk about here in a second. But man, the Dolphins, they were not on their game. And who wouldn't? And they wouldn't be because they're without Tua. But in this one, this is going to be an interesting game because the Titans, they're still working on if Will Levis is the guy, which is right now looking like he's not because he's pretty much the turnover machine right now of the NFL. And then also the Dolphins, they're a big question mark because Skylar Thompson can maybe start again. And I'm hoping he doesn't because Tyler Huntley, they should get him in there because he would be a lot better than Skylar Thompson. But in this one, I might shock some people here. I'm going with the same team that beat them last time, the Tennessee Titans. Now, I know people are going to get on me, but it is a hot possibility. the Dolphins are without Tua again. Their offense did not look that great against a defense in Seattle last week, which they're still figuring out their defense. But this is going to be an interesting game. But I have the Titans beating the Miami Dolphins. And then you got the Monday night game. And man, will this be a Monday night game for the century. You got the Seattle mother-loving Seahawks going on the road to Detroit to take on the Lions. And finally, this is a primetime game. Man, have I waited for this moment. Man, I have waited for this game. This game is the true test of the Seattle Seahawks. Man, the Seahawks, they have gone on their best start since 2020 when Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll were still there. And man, this defense has been looking bomb the last few weeks. And man, and you can already tell I'm excited about this matchup. Because the Seahawks, the last 10 matchups, they are 9-1 against the Lions. But the Seahawks, this will be their biggest challenge yet. Because they went against easy teams in the Donkeys, the Patriots, and also the Tua-less Dolphins. But this team is looking very vicious. They rank almost top 5 in every single category that you can think of. As I had mentioned when I went over to Mike McDonald's video, which I'll have posted at the end of this. But man, did this team look good. The Seahawks, I've said this. I've always felt they're one thing away, and I think they might have finally found it in Mike McDonald. But they're going to be taking on the Lions. There are going to be no easy task. But this is going to be the Lions barely escaped out of Arizona last week. And might have gotten a little help from the rest because there was that pick 6 in that 2-minute warning, but it got waved off. I'm not going to get on the Lions too much because I have my respect for them. I have my utmost respect for them. But this is going to be a very fun game because this I believe is a rising up rivalry. Because the last 3 games against these two teams have been very close. They have been must-see watch games. And I am glad they made this a primetime game. Finally, this is a primetime game. And I have a funny story. I have a friend of mine that his mother is a Detroit Lions fan and his dad is a Seattle Seahawks fan. That's going to be an interesting thing in that house. But man, this will be a good test for the Seahawks. And I am going to go with the Seahawks on this one because they've had the Lions number the last few years. But the defense, I think they're going to be really good with potentially Uchenna Nwosu returning to that lineup. Leonard Williams is still a question mark. And hopefully Byron Murphy is back as well because he's been a major role in that nose tackle rotation. And then also K9 hopefully is back. And this game is going to be good. It is going to be a nail biter. And if the Seahawks escape with this, they could go 5-0 before the game against the Niners. But I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks to get the win over the Detroit Lions. But let me know in the comments what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who do you guys think is going to win each of the games? And we'll see what happens. I've been on a roll so far, staying over 500 for every single week so far. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to do me a favor and smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao for now.